So first and foremost key challenge is mindset change. That mindset change is very important. That's where we are, from as a government, as a director of tourism, with along with my key stakeholders, we have been working to change that mindset so that Goa is beyond beaches. So that is the first and foremost challenge we have been facing at the ground. For example, let's start with homestays. Land Goa, which is absolutely beautiful, right? So all our traditional festivals, all these, all these are testimony of Goan heritage, culture, etc. So when we go to field, and when we convince the people, because it is everyone knows this is a Goa is beyond something. So, but thing is that to bring that into concept in the mindset, that itself is a big thing. Second thing is convincing the key stakeholders. Look, these are the various products at the grassroots level. Could it be homestays? Could it be new adventure? Could it be uh, new various products at the hinterland? So unearth these things and showcasing to the world. That is one of the first key challenge. At the same time, skilling is a very challenge. Though we have been partnering with the various key stakeholders like Make My Trip, Airbnb, and various online digital platforms also. So these are the key issues. And what we are doing is we are collaborating with the social private partnership with the communities. So as Sean is rightly mentioned, why we are doing all these things, for whom we are doing, key core component is communities. So the benefit where, how do we reach out those benefits to the key communities? By convincing them and making them as a part of this entire exercise. That is the key challenge. So with this, setting up this context, and as you are all aware of that, Goa is perhaps one of the first state to start with regenerative tourism concept, and we want to lead by example. We want to showcase to the world this is can be possible by launching of various initiatives. One of the key initiatives which we have launched recently is Ekadasha Tirth. As part of this, we have already chosen more than 11, 10 complexes, spiritual complexes, where we are engaging actively all the communities, how to reach out to them, how to benefit them. So this is what the core access which we have been doing, and subsequently we may talk about what are the things, rest of the things. So thank you, Sean.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned about Goa beyond beaches, right? So, could you, I mean, what I'm understanding about Goa beyond beaches would be the two aspects is the geographical focus of Goa beyond beaches and also the other elements that Goa has to offer its guests. Am I correct?
Yes, Goa beyond beaches means, if you could look at the geography of Goa, it has got everything it has got. For example, it is endowed with Western Ghats, seven wildlife sanctuaries, and it has got huge potential for adventure tourism and interland exploration. We could give various experiences for the public altogether, for travelers. So these are the various, so it is naturally endowed with so many assets. So how do we enhance those assets by preserving and safeguarding our own natural resources? That's the challenge.
Absolutely. So, like you mentioned about moving into Goa beyond beaches, and I'd like to move the conversation now to forest, because one of the things that happens when you're promoting Goa beyond beaches is maintaining that sustainability, right? Is something that we call destination carrying capacity. We're moving people from, say, a region A to a region B, and does that region actually have the ability and the capacity to kind of maintain those people that are coming there? So this is where I'd like to bring in a conversation from both the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India and possibly the Forest Department to tell us how they kind of manage this, how do they mitigate this, how do they put in some measures which kind of promote sustainable tourism practices in the hinterlands.
Um, yeah, I would like to bring your attention to the concept of carrying capacity. So, unlike common perception, this carrying capacity is a dynamic term. Say, for example, the carrying capacity of a system, which we are discussing, it would be different, say, 5 years back, and it would be different right now. So when we are talking about regenerative tourism, so we are pushing for mindset of people to explore beyond the beaches. So essentially, we are trying to move people to less explored areas. So that essentially brings the question of infrastructure. So when infrastructure increases, obviously the carrying capacity also increases. And we also have to factor in the challenge of the demographics of the tourist population. Say, for example, even in the case of Goa, we have seen marked difference in the demographics of tourists visiting our state. So we have to take those into account when we design our carrying capacity studies. And the second challenge from academic front would be the concept of sustainability. So when we think of sustainability, we tend to limit our focus only to environmental point of view, but we also have to look at the economical aspect of it. For any venture to be successful, we need to be we need it to be sustainable over a long term. So just by initial hand holding by concerned government agencies, it has to be sustainable in the long run. So we are trying to find in the right balance of what the exact carrying capacity is and what exactly is the limit for sustainable tourism. And since this is a very flowing and dynamic concept, this is a evolving thing. So as administrators, we always have to be on our toes to identify what exactly is the limit and where exactly should we draw the line. But while I talk about challenges, I also have to talk about the benefits of this. So I would like to narrate an experience. So last year, we had several instances of raging forest fire in sanctuaries of Goa. So we had introduced new concepts of hinterland tourism at that time. So at that time, uh, to control fires which are outside forest areas in cashew plantations or other things, we needed manpower. But the terrain was in such a way that we found, say, a fire engine or administrative machinery. They can reach there, but not in the quantity which was expected to douse it completely. So in those cases, we found the trekkers, the people who are taken on nature trials. So those lent a very helping hand in disaster management too. So I think when we inculcate this concept of regenerative tourism in the minds of tourists, it will ultimately benefit the ecosystem in the long run.
Right. And then, and moving on to ADTOI, my question is, how can tour operators promote responsible tourism practices, especially when you're looking at, activities which are adventure related, your access to forests, going Goa beyond beaches. Could you share some insights on that?
Hello. See, important is that it's very good that beyond now we are looking after the sun, sea, sand, and sea. Now the focus is on the regenerative tourism, which is really a very, very important. And we are talking to a lot of other states also that we should go beyond their USPs. Now, USP of the Goa was the only the beaches. Everybody was, whosoever clients comes to us as a tour operator, they want to go to Goa. Okay, now we want to enjoy the beaches. Now the time has come when we have to explore the other destinations within Goa, which we call it as a regenerative tourism. Now, one thing is that how to promote this regenerative tourism. First of all, we have to have kind of a educational programs with our clients, with the support of the governance, and with the support of the locals also. We have to do a lot of, the seminars, the educational programs, and we have to tell the, the clients that there is something beyond that you should experience. Today, if we talk about the beaches, and whosoever wants to go to beaches, it's a 2 or 3 nights or maximum 4 nights, the packages we make. But once we try to explore the villages, the culture, the cuisine of that particular places, people would like to go there and they want to experience new experiences they want to have. So that's more important that we should go for that educational programs. And we should also offer responsible tourism aspects. Very, very important that we should not look for only that the people we are sending to, the even the villages, we have to tell them, educate them about the responsibility, what exactly they should think about that when we are going to a different culture. Beaches has a different culture, where the villages has a different culture. So we have to educate them about the culture of that particularly, the locals, how do they live, what they eat, and you should respect those kind of a cultures. That's very, very
Perfect.
important. And it's important to provide them the information about that, the locals. A lot of times they say that you are saying that you should experience, to go to the hinterland areas. What kind of a experience will get it? So we have to provide the information. Please respect their culture, respect their, the what exactly that they live, how do they live. You'll have a different experience from the beaches. That's very, very important. And provide information about support conservative efforts. Once we go there, we should provide the conservative and also to support the conservative, like the, if we talk about the wildlife, we should respect the wildlife areas, exactly how we have to promote them, how we have to go about that. And also about that, encourage sustainable transportation system. Very, very important is that today we are have a, the carbon, and we have to distribute that carbon footprints. How do we have to do that? Try to use that cycling. I think it is very, very important in Goa that we have seen a lot of people, they go for the cycling, they go the bikes, and they go for the new system which has come into India is a EV cars. I think we should try to promote more EV cars to the remote areas, and the cycling ways like heritage walks also we can promote. So these are the ways which we can really promote. And also important as a tour operator to collect that information or the feedback of the suggestions from the tour operators or from the clients. As a tour operator, as a associations, we should always take a feedback and suggestions from all the our tour operator, all the our travelers, that give us your experience, tell us about here that, give us some kind of inputs and suggestions, so that we can really spread into our all the fraternity to all the members that these are the feedbacks we have got it, and you should how to adhere to all this and
Absolutely.
respect that. That's important.
Okay. So as I listen to you, there are two words that have caught my attention, right? So the one word was about culture, cultural integration, and I will bring that question to art and culture in a moment. And the second one was also about carbon footprint, and I will also come to that topic, and I will ask Dr. Solomon and Nataj, and I'll ask on that comment. So first on culture, right? So you mentioned culture and culture being very important and an integral part. And I think Director Tourism, Sunil, has also mentioned how culture is important in reviving, regenerative tourism and regenerative tourism practices. We also know that culture is, culture or the people is one of the key pillars when it comes to regenerative tourism. So I think my question for Sagun is basically, how does cultural tourism contribute to Goa's economy? Because at the end of the day, there also has to be a economic model to how these things sustain ecosystems. So how does this contribute to the Goan economy, the local economy? And are there any steps being taken to kind of maintain this sustainability practices and include processes that include the framework of regenerative tourism?
I think culture, when we speak about, it gives us the importance how best we can be happy. The tourists which are coming in the states, so how to make them the happy, relaxed, and enjoyable things. It is our prime duty to see that the culture is preserved and protected. It should not be deviated from that. So that's why. So I have a question: regenerating and sustainability. So generally, we have to see the origin of the culture, and if you want to see the origin of the culture, So you have to go to the villages. So where the culture has already been started up and it has come to the state levels. As you know, the for examples, the Shigmo, there are different time periods wherein Shigmos is celebrated. In the North Goa, it starts with the full moon day. It on the full moon day, or we call it Holi, so it gets end. And in the North Goa, it starts begins with the Holi festival. So these are the things. And actually, the Shigmo parades, which we are showing it at the taluka levels, with the help of the our various other departments, tourism, which also takes place a major role. So wherein we give the platforms at the state level or the taluka level to the artists who can show the best to the tourists. And I think now it is a season of the taluka levels Shigmo festivals. And I have seen it, the artists who are performing it on the various uh, groups on the roadside. So I see the tourists also who are making best use of it, enjoying it, dancing it, and taking the aesthetic view of that also, which shows that yes, we are giving the platform to the artists who can sustain it, who can make their livelihoods, as well as the they can make enjoyable things or which can show the beauty of the state too by depicting the various floats too. If you think of in the other state, beyond as we say beyond sea, sun, and uh, beaches, we can go to the hinterlands and we can develop the villages wherein village peoples are the real craftsmen, craftspersons, where they can do the kavi art, the natural resources which are there. So from coconut leaves, they can make best use of malla, we call it in Konkani, or in other way, we can say that various types of brooms or mat making. I think these people who are there who can see that yes, it is a different product of the state. So definitely, so it will take a good response in terms of tourism to the state. And definitely in the other way, so it will increase the economy of the artists. We can give them the opportunities to show their art forms, various art forms, and we can see that yes, in there something from the tourist view point of view, it has been adding to their economy too. So like that, so even in the villages, uh, some houses or homestay activities are also there, so which were practiced before the COVID. So now we can come to the regeneration, or we can see that same type of concept can be introduced again, and we can see the actual art forms of the different villages by going through the villages,
Brilliant.
and also the waterfalls and other wildlife animals or this. So we can make a good combined sort of tours and operators which can plan it out and see that we can reach to the actual artists, wherein how they are protecting it, how they are preserving it, and why they are doing all these activities for a long period. So because it has also the spiritual aspects too. So these are the few things wherein we can see that we can promote the culture, we can preserve the culture with the original artist, and we can invite the tourists to in the states for the uh, see that they enjoy the beauty of state as well as the art form. So besides this, we give the opportunities to the other state artists too to come in the states and show the performance to the other people who are from the other states who are there in the states, or the artist or the sorry, I mean to say that the tourists who are visiting to the states. So we give them the opportunities. Famous, we have the Lokotsav, which is celebrated in the December month, wherein most of the artists from the most of the tourists from the nearby capital city. So they enjoy it every evening. It will be celebrated for the 10 days in the month of December, January. So these are the various art forms. We show it to the public or the tourist, and we see that whoever comes in the state is will be in the peaceful and happy. Finally, we have to see that the happiness index of the artist is also maintained, and the guest, we call it as guest, or the tourist is also maintained. This is, I think, all about various art forms which we are doing it, and to regenerate it. So we are also having the concept of teaching the students in the schools. Our We have the music teachers who are teaching the spirituality or the bhajan or the singing or playing the instruments in the school level too, wherein they can also perform it in the various temples, which all of you know that Goa is also famous for the temples too.
Thank you for that. So I think, I think my next point is to come on, which you all were discussing and you all alluded to earlier, was the carbon footprint. Now, the tourism industry, because of the infrastructure that it needs, is one of the industries that has a fairly large carbon footprint, right? Because you're running hotels, you're part of the transportation system, you're talking about connecting between cities. So I think one of the things, and I would like to bring ICAR into this conversation, because or tourism, because I know they're working on a policy which is the agro tourism policy, and I would like, some insights on that policy, and if there are some thoughts on this carbon footprint, if you could share some insights, either Director Tourism or Dr. Solomon, whoever would like to take the lead on that.
Thank you, Sean. First of all, I should must congratulate organizers for taking the very apt topic of regenerative tourism, because this is the time where climate is changing, cultures are changing, and also communities are changing. It's the time to restore all these three: the climate, culture, and the communities. So, as mentioned by other speakers, the carbon footprint is the one of the major aspect we have to look forward in the tourism industry. So, as a Indian Council of Agriculture Research, we are now advocating the concept of agri-tourism. So, we used to call it agri-tourism, but now we added the word agro-eco-tourism, because the word eco is very important, because regeneration and the sustainability is always should go hand in hand with the tourism industry. So in Goa is concerned, around 65% of the land area is covered by the forest and agriculture. So the majority of land is with the forest and agriculture. My friend forest officer is next to me. So this is the area you must concentrate, but most of the conventional tourism happened in the other part of the Goa. Now we should bring them people beyond the beaches. That is what we are looking forward. So in Goa is concerned, the very traditional agriculture is still existing in Goa. So whenever you people travel through this Kankona and the highway, you can see ladies selling the lot of agriculture produce. You can see at least 10 varieties of bangan, 10 varieties of tuber crops, 10 varieties of bendi. You won't find this in any other state, because we are very rich in biodiversity, being in the hotspot of Western Ghats. So this locally grown food is coming, produce is coming from the hinterlands of Goa. There we should take the, so it gives in a very refreshing arena other than the our beaches. So carbon footprint is concerned, this traditional farming is completely natural and organic farming. So many areas, there is a system called Kulagar. Kulagar means it's a homestead farming, where they are only using the regenerative system of natural farming and the very low tillage. And they are also going for integrated system with livestock and fisheries. So what will happen under this system, this system will act as a carbon sink.
means it won't emit a lot of carbon dioxide. What are the carbon dioxide is there? It acts as the sink. It will conserve the carbon. So these, what are the carbon they can conserve? I think farmers should think of trading this carbon. So there is other part of industry, tourism industry, where there is emissions are there. There is hinterland, we are conserving the carbon. So we are in the carbon negative in the hinterland, there it is positive. So we should focus in the future. Goan tourism industry should be carbon neutral at least. If not negative, if you be optimistic, we should focus as a carbon neutral tourism industry. I think we should focus on this area. And second area, when our hotel industry and restaurant industry people are here, Goa is almost 10 to 12 products. We got the geographical indication for our food, especially food items. Like we have Goan penny, Goan cashew, we have Mandovi banana, we have Kola chili. So these are very lesser known to the many of the tourists visiting here. I think we should spread over some platter with all our locally grown varieties of that. I think we should propagate so that farmer will get an additional income. And this, when these produce internationally, it is become popular. Like how champagne has come internationally known. So some focus I think we should give for the GA products of this.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
So, bringing up on the carbon footprint, I'd like to bring the conversation now to the Taj. I mean, luxury hotels are generally considered to be a carbon splurge, right? ACs and guests being pampered and, all of those things that they need, and they keep burning carbon. So I think the question over here is obviously within the framework of generative tourism. Could you share some insights on what the Taj has been doing to kind of sustain and regenerate this part of tourism?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Uh, like what you said at the beginning, sustainability is the basis of regenerative tourism, which is very rightly said. And IHCL's ESG plus framework, that is PATHYA, is a key component for the sustainability. And we have defined 6 pillars under the PATHYA framework, which covers each and every aspect that we have been discussing. One of them being the environmental stewardship that comes under the promote pillar, where we talk about the carbon footprint, and we have set goals, short-term and long-term goals, and up to 2030, because sustainability comes with a cost, and hence it has to be
Could you give an
planned.
example? So when you say sustainability comes with a cost, right?
Yes.
Could you tell us, our audience, could you give them an example
So
of
one
this?
classic example, earlier, if you go and stay in any of the 5-star hotels, you will see plastic being used. Okay, the toothbrush is a plastic toothbrush, and now IHCL has made an effort that we will not have single-use plastic in the hotels, and that is what is our commitment towards sustainability. So a toothbrush which used to cost us only 17 rupees is now going to cost us 80 rupees, because the toothbrush comes is made of that wooden so that is where the cost is. And also similarly, there are many examples like this. I talk about bottling water bottles. Okay, we don't want to use the plastic bottles in the hotel, but again, like sir has already said about mindset change, that mindset change has to come from the customers also, that they should not be demanding and asking for a plastic bottle water, because IHCL is promoting, and we have our own bottling plants in hotels. Right now, we have around 22 water bottling plants in the hotel in the India, and we plan to have it in all the hotels and serve guests in our bottling plant, which is properly RO water sealed and given to a guest. But sometimes guests do come and ask for no, they somewhere don't trust. So that trust factor also is important, and that is
Yeah.
something like one of the challenges we need to build in within our guest, that this is safe for drinking, and that is what they should have rather than asking for this. So that also adds up to
Right.
to a challenge we
Understood.
have. And talking about footprint, carbon footprint, we also aim that 100% of IHCL hotels should be Earthcheck certified. And right now we have around 78 hotels which are certified, out of which 47 are platinum certified, 28 are gold certified, and 5 are silver.
Lovely.
And this, by 2030, we want all the IHCL hotels to be EarthSec certified, so that we are following the norms.
Since you mentioned plastic bottles, I don't know, just by show of hands, anybody notice this little plant kept over here? And did you all notice anything about it? There's a plastic bottle in it. So I'll end with the story of why this plant is there. I mean, for those who noticed it, I'll come to the end. It's a personal story, so I'll close with that. But before we move on to that, I think I'd want to bring Ralph into the conversation, where we're talking about skilling right now. When you're talking about regenerative tourism, you're talking about mindset change. You're talking about people, you're talking about bringing about that change. I think the most important is skilling, training at the grassroots level, at the schools, at the colleges, at the institutes. And I think I would like to hear your comments. I mean, with your experience being, with the GCCI and various institutes, what has kind of transpired in Goa over the years, what those changes have been. And then I would like to, hear the comments from each and every other panelist, because I think skilling and training is part of everyone's organization, right? So I would like you to open that, and then I'd like to go through the panel and hear their comments on that, please.
Thank you, Sean. Good morning, everybody. I've been privileged to be born and brought up here, and all my years are spent in Goa, and I've seen tourism grow. I'll talk about a little bit, 2 minutes, on how it all happened. It happened in Baga and in Anjuna, Sean's village. You're privileged. There's some people who didn't like the way the establishment was going on, and there was a little bit of a revolt, and they found Goa a place to chill, and that's how Goa became a started attracting tourists. Now, this was not a flash in the pan. During this time, there was no infrastructure, there was no Department of Tourism also. Department of Tourism was post facto. It came after this era. The people local people from these villages, they are the people who provided the infrastructure. Every house in the coast was accommodated the tourists with an extra room that they had. The tourists ate with the people from the coast with whom they stayed, and that's how it all started. There was no transportation. That's when the motorbike pilots started. Again, it came from the people. Believe me, in Goa, it started as an inclusive tourism, the jargon which we are all chasing today. It started in 60s, and it was a people's movement. Now here, what was important is skilling. When we talk about skilling, we talk about plumbers, we talk about electricians, we talk about service, we talk about the production of food and everything, but we forget today about soft skilling. Soft skilling is what brings people in. In this era of laptops and smartphones, skills have disappeared. But this is the foundation of the hospitality industry. One of the USPs of Goa was tourists came to visit Goa because they like Goans. And what they like about the Goans, not the good looks, but how they could handle the people. I'll give you one example. It happened to be an occasion when I was visiting one of my resorts. It was somewhere in the month of January when it started raining. My receptionist, acute at that, told the guests, after she finished with him, "Thank you, sir, have a good time." So I called the guest back, and I called this girl also. I said, "See, he has paid money for sunshine, it's raining outside, and you are telling him to have a good time. How for the love of Christ will you have a good time in a situation like this?" So what you got to tell him is, "Sir, I hope the rain stops so that you can have a good time." This is skilling. So it's a simple thing. We Goans have been very hospitable people. Whenever a friend or a relation comes, see the way that our parents treat him, see the way you enjoy a company. That's exactly what we have to do to our guests, and that is skilling. And as I said before, this was not a flash in the pan that happened in 60s. In 1990s, Goa was among the top 10 destinations in the world to be visited. In 2000, it was among the top 7. And in millennium, it was among the top 10 destinations to bring in the millennium. Goa must have done something right. So here we go back to regeneration. In order to even think about regenerations, let us think first what Goa did right and build on this foundation. Zeros have no values, but if you put a 1 before 0, every 0 has a value. Same way, this is the foundation. If we find this strong enough, you will see how Goa will regenerate, rejuvenate, and prosper again. It's not a distant dream. It can be done. Of course, it's an uphill task. Regenerative. We also talk about presenting to our guests something more than the beaches. Fantastic. Of course, beaches and the warm waters of the Arabian Sea are USPs as well. This I got from my guests. I take their feedback. For last 35 years, I've been collecting them. So, what Goa wants to do now, present the hinterland. What is hinterland? Hinterland is a tapestry of God's gifts. It's our nature. It's a basket of most beautiful natural creations of God. We have to tread softly because we are treading on the tapestry of a creator. How best we skill people or we show our skills to our guests. Homestays. This concept started in Goa when late Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee himself saw what was available in Goa and he wrote to the Department of Tourism. Sunil, that letter must be with you. It was during the time of Kesh Kamath when he was the Director of Tourism. He said, Goa has fantastic houses, but I can see that people cannot afford to maintain them. Why don't you help them and convert them into guest houses? Now, how this would help? What better way of spending your holiday than living with the people, living with the culture, eating the local food, listening to the stories, saying hi to the neighbors. This is what homestay is all about. It's nothing to do with, what those projects and all. It comes from your heart. It's hospitality from your heart. And this comes again with soft skills. And Goans, these soft skills are born in every Goan. And this is where they come about. When you go to the rural tourism, when you take part in the rural tourism, what happens? You look at the local culture, local cuisine, the local lifestyles, which are very important. And also, you look at the various facades, like your heritage, built-in heritage and a traditional heritage that we can present to our tourists. Another USP of Goa is why people come. Why would you go on a holiday? Would you go on a holiday, this looks like your backyard? You would never do it. You will go to a place where there is a difference and will enjoy the difference. People came to Goa for its difference and we got to keep it that way. How do we do this? Again, by being proud of our culture and our heritage and by conserving and preserving this. Keep your difference, keep your heritage, be proud of it. And then you will see people coming. All this is a part of the second edition, from the beaches to the hinterland. We have got a long way to go. And let me tell you, it can be a successful story. My work and my travels take me to various corners of the world. I've seen in Costa Rica, one example. That country was in a terrible shape. The youngsters had no jobs. And you know what happens when youngsters don't have jobs? They do everything that you shouldn't do to earn money. By some coincidence, I happened to go again about 15 years later and I saw them prospering. You know what they did? They preserve and conserve what they had. And they presented it to the guests. And today it's become one of the premier eco-resorts of Central America. This is a story. Another thing that we have to please keep in mind is we have to give guests what they would like to see. They know about a place. Today we have got internet. Everybody's got a knowledge about the destination. Nobody jumps in the deep end of the pool. They make a study, they choose a place, and then they come. And there are some things that intrigues them and they want to come and see. Make sure that we have a collection of this, you get them by feedbacks, and we have this ready, and not what we would like the tourists to see. I'll tell you another story. This happened in British Airways. British Airways started making money on their business class and their world traveler class because this is what brings in the home. Then they said they were doing so well because this is what sustained the airline. Let us pamper them in the lounges. They bought those massage chairs. You sit on the chair, press a few buttons, and you get massage everywhere. And they said, come on, let's go for a feedback. When they went for the customer feedback, not even 5% of the customers has used those chairs. So these guys were shocked. If you spend millions for what? They're not even use them. That's the mistake they made. They did not find out what the guests wanted, but they gave them what they thought the guests wanted. And when they asked the guests, they said, what we want is a warm shower and to change our clothes so we can go for our next meeting when we are out of this airport. So it is very, very important for us. We have everything it takes. Goa is such a small place. North to south, it is 104 crow flies. From east to west, it is 65 kilometers. We have the sea in the west, we have the beaches, we have the hinterland, we have the mountains, we have the sanctuaries, we have everything, we have the lakes. Now, if you want to see all this God's creations and all these beauties and all attractions, any other country will have to travel for 7 days to see all this, what we can show you in 1 day. So we have got everything to show, everything to see. We have received more than our share from the good Lord when He was creating Goa. So it's how we present and soft skills and being proud of what we had. So it's a good idea about the hinterland to produce much more. We have to also look at one aspect is our travel. We have got 250 kilometers of navigable rivers. There was a time when people used to come to work in Panjim through rivers. We had the passenger launches. We have to revive this. The jetties are existing. If you want to see Goa, see it from the rivers, then you will see a different Goa. It was created to be seen from the rivers. We'll have a good travel, less roads, less of the roads, road accidents, and more of leisure as you go from one place to another. Thank you.
No, thank you. So for those who must have noticed, people kept coming and tapping me. So I'm, just being reminded of the time and very mindful of the time. I need to thank, T3 for putting this panel together. So what I'm going to do is quickly 30 seconds each. Okay. I just want to start from the extreme right. So I'll start from you, Hemant, and move back down 30 seconds each. Your final comments. And if you can just say, what is your personal commitment towards supporting regenerative tourism? Yeah, just 30 seconds. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. So, as I mentioned, IHCL is committed towards sustainability and has defined this in 2016 itself, 17 itself. And we have set our targets for 2030 that where we want to reach. Like skilling being that, we would like to skill 1 lakh students by 2030. And right now, I'm proud to say that, we have touched 12,000. So
Perfect.
we are committed towards sustainability and achieve our target that we have set for 2030.
Thank you. Over to you.
Yes, as a tour operator, I would like to say that for the regeneration, in fact, if you really see the implementation of the regeneration tourism, we have a lot of limited awareness in the tour operators. And maybe a lot of tour operators, this is why we should really promote, because it's a cost effective. If you go to beaches, we know what is the cost, but they are not aware of the cost effectiveness of that. And balancing the profitability and, the sustainability also. And also the local community involvement. Very, very important that we have to skill them. How to skill them? A lot of institutions are there, those who are really giving them the skills, give them the education, and only then we can really, as a tour operator, really promote that, the regeneration tourism. Thank you.
If you ask me, I will say that yes, the art form which is there in the villages will definitely be trained. Artists will be trained, tuned, and see that how best we can regenerate it, promote that art form, and simultaneously how we can attract the hinterland tourisms towards this in the villages. Simultaneously, if you go to the city areas, we definitely give the opportunities to the artist form, so wherein they can show their performance on the big stages besides the various institutions which are there, or we have provided them stages. But organizing the big festivals and bringing the artists from the other states too, and see that how they can compare it with the others, and see that how best we can preserve the art and entertain the society too by comparing it with the others too. That's all.
From the government side, we have made action plan, but challenge is how to implement this action plan with leveraging the existing infrastructural institutional support, of course, through private institutions and public participation. So these are the key areas which at the policy level we have been focusing. Of course, skilling is one of the important aspect. So which we have been addressing through guiding training our Yuva tourism clubs, which we have formed recently, because these are the youth are our brand ambassadors, so that we could send them, to promote our own heritage, Goan heritage. At the same time, bringing from outsiders also to showcase rich culture. So these are the, and at the same time, if you could look at one of the NGOs recently, I'm talking about, they are best at heritage tour walks, storytelling. So how to engage them, how to promote their courses at the entire state level. So these are the various aspects which from government side we have been looking at, and I'm sure we'll be able to do it. Thank you.
Forest.
Goa Forest Department is in the process of sprucing up the infrastructure in hinterland areas, particularly in sanctuaries and our Bondla Zoo. So our master plan is approved, and to tail in with what Director Art and Culture had said, natural history of any place also includes its cultural history. So we are trying to bring in aspects of Goa which are so tied with conservation. So say for example, we have villages here who worship crocodiles. So we have villages here who worship sustainable agriculture practices. So we are trying to showcase them in our Bondla Zoo to our visitors from outside Goa or from outside the country. And secondly, taking hints from what we heard from our hospitality stakeholders, we would like to tie up with them in showcasing much less focused areas, particularly cultural and natural wealth of Goa. Say, for example, we organize bird festival every year, and we focus on these lesser known aspects of Goa, which focus on conservation and regenerative tourism. So
Brilliant.
I think we can all expect government of Goa and Goa Forest Department support in taking this concept to its fruition. Thank you.
Dr. Salman.
Yeah. My quick 3 points, takeaway message you can take. When talking about skill, and we are also same time talking about rural tourism, I think one point we should focus on educating the soft skills to the rural women, and to increase some skill like micro food processing, food safety, and soft skills. If you can inculcate some training into this woman, because there is one basic principle: when you increase the income of a woman, then entire family will be secured. So I may not be a gender bias, but rather than training a man, we should focus on women so that entire family and finally the village will get the benefit.
Perfect.
Yeah. And second point, I just the many farmers are into this agrotourism, and we have in our audience a farmer from Kerala who is conserving 4,800 species of plants. He has a plants that were mentioned in Bible, Bhagavad Gita, and Quran. So that is a typical example of regenerative tourism. You can interact with him after this
Definitely.
event. So such farmers, maybe through CSR funding or something, if you the industries which are emitting more carbon, they can adopt some of the farmers, so that they can show their program that they are neutralizing their carbon emissions by encouraging farmers who is conserving the carbon. So that carbon credit trading, I think we can use in this aspect. Maybe CSR funding should focus on rural tourism. That's it.
Thank you. Ralph, your 30 seconds, please.
I would first talk about promotion. As I said, Goa is a small state. We are just 3,700 square kilometers. When we promote, we have to find our markets and our niche and go there. Why we have to do this? We have to have pure footstep because Goa cannot hold mass tourism per se. But at the same time, Goa is a welfare state. Everything in Goa is free. Education is free. Medical, even a super specialty facilities like heart operations and everything is free. Then we have the girls. Once they are 18, they get 1 lakh in the bank. We get laptops in schools. Everything is free. But some government have to get revenues for this. You get from industry, and tourism is something that funds it. So it's a balance between the two. We require the revenues, we require the footfalls, but we require the footfalls that bring in the revenue. That would be my first point. How do we do this? By focused markets, selecting our markets properly and targeting them. Secondly, as I said before, and I'll say again, Goa is popular because of its difference. We have a fantastic heritage, built up heritage in cuisine, in our cooking. We have multiple cuisines. We have, besides the coastal cuisine, the Saraswat cuisine, we have the Porto-Goan cuisine, we have the monsoon cuisine, we have the tribal cuisine. These are the heritages we have to preserve, show the difference, and our culture. Without compromising, if we do this, people will come for this difference. And my third point would be education. How do we do this? We have to first educate people, our children, in soft skills to love and to be proud of what belongs to them. We are just guardians of what this is. We have to live it for our children, and they have to know how important it is. And how do we do this? By training the teachers. The chambers should have programs for teachers in soft skills, in environment, in ecology. We should have this, and it was highly successful because the chamber had tied up with the education department and it was successful. That's the only way to do it. So first, we have the promotions to be properly selected and targeted. Second is the heritage to be looked into to preserve the difference. And the third is the education. These are my 3 points.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So on that note, I'd like to kind of start wrapping up this session. I think coming back to the story of the plant, right? So what is my personal commitment? My personal commitment is that I'm going to reduce the use of plastic. And it comes back to this story. So last weekend when I had some time at home, I was on my phone and my son, who's not yet 5, comes up to me and says, "What are you doing?" And I didn't say I was working. I said, "I'm studying." And he got very curious. He's saying, what are you studying? And then I started talking to him about, this and sustainability and, just like you would have a conversation with a kid. And he asked me to keep my phone aside and he takes me out into the garden. And this is something that he created, right? And as you can see, there is beautiful stones that he's put in. There is mud and he's put these glass beads and he's put a plant in it. And I asked him, what are you doing? And then he goes and puts a plastic bottle. And the whole idea behind this was the simplicity of it. I asked him a simple question. I said, "Why a glass vase?" He said, "Because I can see it." Every morning he gets up and he asks me only one question. So I had to take his permission to get this from the house, by the way. He asked me a very simple question. He keeps saying, "Not yet disappeared." He's waiting for the day that this plastic disappears because our conversation was about how we are affecting the environment. So every morning the boy gets up, he looks at this plant with this bottle in it, and he asks me a very simple question: when will it disappear? So this is a reminder for me. I keep this on my table, and hence my personal commitment is to reduce the use of plastic in my life. So on that note, we'd want to end this panel discussion. I welcome the Honorable Tourism Minister, Shri Ron County. Thank you, sir, for gracing this occasion. I'll hand over the mic now to the MC, who can continue the rest of the procession.
Thank you, Sean. This was a very insightful session that we have had on regenerative tourism. And I know everybody is eager to begin their appointments. In fact, some of the buyers have already started. So I will now request our Director Tourism to kindly felicitate the panelists. Mr. Sunil Achipaka, our Director, will now felicitate our panelists with a hand-woven Kunbi shawl. May I also call upon our moderator, Sean Mendes, on stage? Sean, Director will now felicitate our moderator, Sean Mendes. Can I request Ralph to kindly felicitate our Director? Ralph, Mr. Ralph? Ralph, are you here? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Can I request Ralph to kindly felicitate our Director of Tourism, Sir Sunil Anchipaka? Our photographers? For a photograph? Our official photographer, please. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. And we'll continue with our buyer-seller appointments. If anybody has any difficulty in the process that we're following on the login, we are just going to do the MOU signing right now. So just please hold on for just 3 minutes. We're going to be signing the MOUs right now.